Hey Growler Nation, my name is Ben with Growler Bikes, and today we're going to be discussing different riding gear that you should wear when you're outside in the cold riding a fat bike. It's important to pick really good gear that will keep you warm, but also not keep you too warm so that you get sweaty, which can be dangerous if you're out in cold temperatures or if you're out by yourself. Certainly it's important to pay attention to how much you're sweating. Using good base layers is the first step towards staying warm in the winter and keeping the moisture away from your skin. So we're gonna go through some different options. The one that I have on here, this is a Tech Fabric base layer combined with my outer jacket. This one happens to just be Eddie Bauer, but it has a windproof front to it, so it blocks the wind really nice. But the sleeves and the back are a breathable material, which I prefer to a hard shell. In the wintertime, hard shells I'm not a big fan, just because it traps all your moisture and it just makes you sweat more, and basically it's like cooking yourself in an oven. So I prefer more layers that are breathable. Depending on how cold it is, you know, whether it's one or two is usually sufficient for me down into some pretty cold temps. And definitely having something like a zipper on the front where you can easily ventilate and get a little more airflow if you need it. But if it gets cold or if you're in a windy condition, you can easily zip it up on the fly. For winter pants, there's two different real options for me. One is like a neoprene, which is a tighter fit, but they're really warm. They should be breathable. Sometimes they'll be windproof in the front, but breathable on the back. The other option is like a baggy pant like I have on here, and it's water resistant and wind resistant. And then with baggy pants like that, you have the option of wearing either leg warmers or some sort of a tighter fitting base layer. Again, that's just gonna come down to personal preference or how cold it is out. So typically in the winter time, when it gets really cold out, the two weak points that you're gonna find are your hands and feet. This is a good place to start because most people have a jacket or they have pants they could ride in, but your hands and your feet are the most exposed to the air. So spending money on either good boots or really good shoe covers, definitely layering with good thick wool socks. And then on your hands, there's two ways to go about it. One is to have a big bulky glove, but I don't really like those for mountain biking in particular because you have a lot of controls and you want to be able to feel your controls. So having like a lobster claw or really bulky gloves just feels a lot more cumbersome, and your hands kind of slide around in your grips a little bit more. So my personal preference in the wintertime is to use pogies on the handlebars. There's a couple of really good brands out there, Bar Mitts, Wolf Tooth, and 45 North come to mind. Basically all they do is they block the wind, and you'd be surprised how effective that is for keeping your hands warm. Instead of wearing a heavy, bulky glove, you can wear a really thin, like medium weight glove and still have really good feel on your controls, but your hands are gonna be plenty warm. It's amazing how effective they are for such a simple thing. They just block the wind, but your hands will be super warm, even in temperatures way down into the single digits, even around 0 degrees. I just wear a lightweight glove. So here's an example of two different gloves that I use. These are my Pearl Izumi. You know, it's a medium weight glove. It definitely has some insulation and warm properties to it. These type of gloves, they're bulky, they're warm. If you don't have bar mitts, it's a great substitute, but long term, if you're gonna find yourself riding in cold temperatures, I recommend pogies and a lighter weight glove. All right. So a good hat is also something that's really important to me. I love a good hat. I have a lot of different ones. Some of them are super thin. I find that when you're out in the cold, you're working really hard, but you're not going very fast. And even a thin hat that covers your ears is sufficient for pretty cold temperatures. I do always bring a spare hat in my backpack, a dry hat, just in case you ever have a mechanical breakdown or something and you're gonna be stopped and your heart rate drops. You wanna make sure you can stay warm and dry while you're doing a trailside repair or something like that. So this one here is a wool hat, 45 North. Both good options. They're just thin wool hats that fit nicely underneath your helmet. I don't like anything that's too bulky for my head. Another thing that I do like to use in the wintertime, I still like to wear glasses, but because it's cold, they have a tendency to fog, so I choose something that has a really good fog-proof coating on it. Keeps your eyes protected from branches and stuff like that. The clear lenses, obviously it's gonna be dark out for most of your winter riding, so just a clear lens that has fog-proof built into it. Another piece of gear that's super important to me are my boots. I have Lake winter riding boots. They're clipless, so I can still clip into my pedals, but they're super warm. They have a good chunky tread on the bottom. so you can still get traction. They actually have studs that you can put in the toes to help you hike, because you do occasionally do some hiking in the winter. The alternative to the clipless boot is, of course, just a regular old winter boot. They work perfectly well if you want to ride flat pedals. That's also a great option. So in the winter time, for me, I'm a little bit extra cautious. I bring a spare jacket and either a spare base layer or definitely a dry hat in my backpack. Sometimes, especially if you're riding by yourself or if you're in a remote area, you have to be more conscious of how much you're sweating. And I always like being self-sufficient so that if you have a mechanical breakdown or something like that, at least you got an extra layer to keep yourself warm until you can get to the trailhead. All right, so that's it for our suggestions for some basic riding gear and some recommendations to help keep you warm and safe out there in the winter. Thanks for watching our video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you like our videos, please give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on cool future videos. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben with Growler Bikes.